Hi there, welcome back to Marky RC. Today I thought I'd do a little review on my Tamiya VQS, which is like the re-release version of the Vanquish. This model number 58686, released 2020. The original was 58076, so 76th buggy that Tamiya made in RC. That was released on the 20th of December 1988, just before Christmas. So I'd imagine there was a few lucky kids that got one of these for Christmas present. 1/10 scale, high performance off-road buggy. Shaft driven 4x4. Carries a few parts over from the Tamiya Avante. Very sort of similar layout, apart from suspension arms are plastic on this, and on the Avante, which I'll show you later in the video, the differences between the two. These are very, very fragile buggies. Not as fragile as an Avante, but you don't really want to be like bashing them about. They're really good racing on dirt, so you know, you can have a lot of fun, and they are, you know, reasonably lightweight. And I think the styling of the body looks absolutely stunning, as with the decals with the silver and the red. Shame they didn't put a hopped up motor in. Just comes with a standard 540 can, which was a bit of a letdown. But then in the Avante and the Egress you don't even get a motor, so I suppose something's better than nothing. Lightweight polycarbonate body shell. Doesn't feel any thinner than a normal one, but they say it's lightweight, so we'll take their word for that. Rear mounted motor, gearboxes front and back with the metal, basically like the Egress diffs, which are pretty good, pretty strong. I wouldn't really want to run a brushless system in this particular buggy. I think you know, a nice BZ motor would be pretty cool. So why is that wobbly like that? CVA shocks, oil filled. So I'll pop it on the turntable and run through all the specifications of this particular buggy. Then I'll do a comparison between the VQS and the Avante and show you the differences, because they are very similar in their design. So let's pop it on the turntable. Here we have the VQS on the turntable now. Not a lot of differences really between the original and this one. I'd imagine the plastics are a little bit different, but I don't have an original Vanquish to be able to compare them. But this buggy, 1/10 scale, high performance, off-road buggy, shaft driven, lightweight polycarbonate body shell, which is also pre-cut and is pre-painted. So if you're new to building these cars and you don't want all the hassle of painting, that's a nice little touch that Tamiya put in the box. Decals are pretty much the same as the originals, apart from the Vanquish sticker, which is replaced by a VQS for the re-release. Bathtub chassis, which is pretty rigid, and you know, a really good base to hang on the suspension off of. Get new parts in this particular kit over the original. So you get the aluminium front uprights, which are pretty much the same as the Avante. Universal drive shafts. These designs are taken from the 2011 re-release Avante. The original had normal metal front uprights, same material as a sand scorcher, but the re-release VQS, as you can see, has gold uprights. I think they are pretty much identical. When I do the comparison, I'll have a little look. The way the diffs are put together in these are the same as the Avante, and I think they're a pretty cool diff. I've never really put anything more than a brushed BZ motor through it, but I think they pretty much stand up to brushless power, no problem. They are absolutely beautifully made. All the differential gears, pretty cool. Shame you get the 540 silver can motor in the kit. They could have, you know, for another 20 quid probably on the price of the kit, stuck something in there with maybe, you know, a nice brush motor with the decal in to sort of, you know, for a re-release like they did on the Big Wig and a few of the other Tamiya cars. Kit comes with a TBLE 02 CSESC. Pretty good speed control. Not a bad kit. Speed control. I think they can run without, well, I'll have a look in a minute when I take the body off. I think they can run brushed and brushless. Double wishbone front suspension with CVA oil-filled shocks. Really nice and plush. The rear is like almost like a 4-link setup. You've got wishbones. Well, a sort of wishbone, I suppose you'd call that. But then it has like a trailing arm that comes to the centre of the chassis like a 4-link. Also has oil-filled CVA shocks. Front and back have a nice medium rate spring, which kind of supports the buggy well, which I'll show you when I do the bounce test. You get a full set of ball race bearings in the kit. Also front and rear anti-roll bars in the kit. They're normally like a hop-up part. The new VQS comes with an alloy motor mount, metal centre drive shaft, lightweight egress style plastic wheels, wider at the back, thinner on the front, with a nice aggressive spiked tyre. Same again, thin on the front, fat on the back. Even the steering's ball raced in this particular kit, which makes it really nice and smooth, as well as having very little slop, which I'll show you in a minute when I take the body off. Quite a pricey buggy, and like I say at the beginning of the video, quite fragile, but on a nice dirt track, really good fun to drive. I put a BZ, a friend of mine's got a VQS and he runs his one. I've never actually run this particular model. He put a BZ brushed in his VQS, and they do absolutely fly. And if you can find a nice, like, sort of dusty, dirty area to run where there's not too many rocks, they are good fun. You can sort of jump them, but you know, mild jumps, and try not to smash into each other, because that's a recipe for disaster with these, because of the sort of way they're built and how fragile they are. I'll show you in a minute when I do the comparison of the Avante and the VQS, the slight differences. But to be quite fair, the way the VQS drives and puts its power down, they are pretty cool buggies. I've kept my eye out for an original one for ages, but the prices of them now are just getting way out of hand. But then, to be fair, you know, the VQS isn't that cheap, and they could have stuck a few more nicer bits on, but then I suppose, you know, you've got the Avante for that. So let's do a little comparison and see what the differences are between the Avante and the VQS, as well as see what our suspension's like, because from previous experience, CVAs are lovely and smooth. So let's do a comparison. Right, here we have the VQS re-release and the 2011 Tamiya re-release. If I remember rightly, I think I paid about £400 for that, and I think that was about £290 if I remember rightly. In my opinion, you get a lot more for your money with an Avante than you do a VQS. I know the Avante is even more fragile than the VQS is. I think the styling of both, absolutely epic. I mean, look at the bodies on those two cars. Colour schemes are the same. I mean, that's pretty much Subaru blue. Like, I'd like to do all my cars box art, so I've done the VQS as the instructions state. So I'll pop the bodies off and run over the chassis, what differences we have. So here we have the VQS and the Avante out on the bench. First thing to take note of, VQS body comes off 2 clips, no problem whatsoever. Avante body, nuisance. You have to take all the bracing off the front and the brace off the rear to be able to get the body off, which I'll imagine doing that a few times they're going to end up wearing those ball stud clips out. Avant, ridiculously complicated front suspension. I mean, it's adjustable in every way known to man, but does look pretty cool. Metal steering bridge and those lovely gold anodised shocks, as in on the VQS. Same sort of roll bar setup, nice yellow CVAs. I mean, they are absolutely butter smooth. Avant, same again, absolutely butter smooth, but ridiculously complicated, but then looks cool. Get a carbon or FRP steering bridge on the VQS. You also get the same anodised gold knuckles. They are, I think they are pretty much identical to the Avant ones. Larger front bumper, small front bumper. Tyre differences: you get a 4-pin spike tyre on the Avant and like 3-pin wide on the VQS, so a slightly slimmer tyre. Tub chassis, top and bottom parts. Leads on with a motor mounted, which you get a 540 in the kit. I mean, they could have put a slightly nicer motor in there like they did in the Avant. The Avant comes with, I think it's carbon fibre, or the same again, FRP. Driver figure's actually bolted to the chassis in the Avant, and he's actually in the body shell in the VQS. So get the same speed control in both models. Apart from the Avant, you get the Avant lovely brush motor with its own special decal. Both the Avant has an under tray to protect the chassis from scratches, and the VQS doesn't. I think the driver figure is really cool in the Avant. I'm not sure. I think that helmet is the only. The Avant is the only model that has that particular driver helmet, which is like super futuristic. As in the VQS is inside the body. So I'll differences overall, quite a lot, but if you look from above, the suspension is laid out roughly the same, apart from the lay down shocks. Really nice looking. So I'll turn the buggies round and show you all the differences at the back. Here we have the VQS and the Avant turned round now. VQS, adjustable upper links, all plastic, steel adjusters, and the steel anti-roll bar mounts, and a very skinny rear bumper. Same tyres on both models. Rear of the Avant, super complicated, but does look really cool. A lot simpler on the back of the VQS. Nice rear wing on the back of the Avant. Slightly bigger on the back of the VQS. And same with rear shocks. Rear shocks on the Avant, the same lovely gold anodised, and absolutely super smooth. And then on the back of the VQS, got the big CVAs. Same again, super smooth. I mean, I do prefer the gold anodised. Anything anodised is pretty cool. Overall, I'd say the Avant is a lot heavier than the Egress. Both buggies pretty much same differentials, just a slightly cheaper version really. I know the Avant is super iconic, so I'll stick the camera back on the tripod and give them their bounce test. Right, Tamiya Avant, absolutely butter smooth. Very, very little, well, if any, a tiny little bit of play in the axles. Maybe that's just the universals, but suspension on those, that is, you know, super smooth. Maybe not up to TRF standards, but lovely. And these jump, I mean, I haven't used this one particularly. This one's never been used, as you can see from the under tray. But I have jumped a few of these, and they do jump absolutely epic, especially on the beach, where they seem to be in their element. So if you're looking for a buggy for the shelf that looks super cool, is a super fun build, and they are pretty much as popped up as far as they can go. I think that motor, if I remember rightly, was a 24 or 25 turn. It's all, I think, if it might even be the same motor that's in the big wig, it's just got a different decal on. You also get the cam lock wheels, which are, I think, what other buggy come with cam lock? Was it? I think it might have been the 2001. I think it was a 2001 that come with white cam lock wheels. They are exceptionally hard to get hold of. The 2001 is a little bit different. The original was 86. Then they did the 2011, but the 2001 isn't the same layout. It's if anything, it's a bit more plasticky, a bit more like the VQS. So if you're looking for a really sort of epic looking buggy that's super futuristic, you couldn't go much farther wrong than going for an Avant. They even do a black version of this car, which I'm trying to get my hands on. I think they do a black egress as well, but the black models, I seem to have a thing for the black variants. I know they're only painted black, but they always seem to look a bit cooler. You've also got the VQS, same again, super smooth suspension. Even when it's fully compressed, the body doesn't touch the ground. Maybe needs a slightly stronger spring and some slightly thicker oil in the back. A little bit grasshoppery. It's pogoing. So there's a very soft spring on there. I can't remember if I built it. Might need a slightly heavier shock oil. As you can see, standard 540 silver cam motor in the kit. So quite a few differences between the two, but when you look at the basic layout of the buggy, like the rear arms and that sort of funny 4-link setup, no adjustability on the front end of the VQS, apart from just, you know, adjusting the turnbuckles on the ends. Rear end's got adjustable toe in and toe out. No adjustment for camber, but I think a little bit lighter, and you get those lightweight egress style wheels, the white variants on this particular model, but still pretty cool looking buggy. And yet those speed controls do run brushless, so mild brushless system. What do you think? I think the Avant is obviously, you know, the overall winner, but it is a lot of money, and it is even more fragile than the VQS. Body styling, I think Avant again beats the VQS. I'm trying to get a vintage one of these to see what the real differences are, but just from that suspension is so smooth, that is ridiculously bouncy. But I'm sure with a bit of fiddling about, you could get them get the VQS handling cool. I know they both jump really well. I'd probably say the VQS beats it in the jumping categories, and obviously parts are going to be a lot cheaper, and it is a lot stronger than the Avante. But what do you reckon? Awesome pair of buggies. So I hope you've enjoyed a little review of the VQS and the comparison between the two. Next video I think I'm going to do is, might even do a comparison actually of all three, with the Avante, Egress and the VQS, but who knows. So hope you've enjoyed the video, hope you like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, bye.